Alright, so on your grass problem, it says that Mr. Fan mowed 2/7 of his lawn and his son mowed 1/4. Who mowed the most? So I need to know which is greater, 2/7 or 1/4. I can't compare these like they are because they have different denominators. But there's a couple things I could do. So one thing that I could do before I get them same denominators is I'm thinking that 1/4 is very close to 2/7 because I know that I could say times 2 over 2 and I could get 2/8. So now I have 2/7 and 2/8. And if I'm looking at these, I can tell which one is bigger because we have the same numerator. Even though we have different denominators, I have the same numerator. So if we have 2/7 and 2/8, which one of those is going to be bigger? Hope you said 7ths, because think about this. If I have a whole cut into 7 pieces and then I have a whole cut into 8 pieces, which one's going to have bigger pieces? The 7ths are going to be bigger pieces because there are fewer of them, so they're going to be larger. So if I have 2 of those pieces, I've got 2 larger pieces than the 8ths, which are the smaller pieces. So that's one way I could tell. Another way I can do this is I could find common denominators. Now, I realized a while ago I said factors when I should have said multiples, because when we're finding common denominators, we're actually looking at their multiples, not their factors. So, to get 2/7 and 1/4, the same denominator, there's not anything kind of like fourths and thirds that pops out real quickly that it's going to be. And I know I can't say 4 times something and get 7, so that's not going to work to turn it into a 7th. Now, in our small group, we have used this strategy with some of you. So before you just think, let me multiply 7 times 4, because remember, we've done some problems before that had big denominators, or if you multiplied them, they would get a really big number. So sometimes you can find things that are simpler without just automatically multiplying them. So we looked in our group, in some of our groups, looking at the multiples of these numbers. So the multiples of 7 would be 7, 14, 21, 28, 35. Multiples of 4 would be 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28. And I can stop right there because when I look at these, I see 28 and 28. Now that does happen to be the same thing if you would have multiplied 7 times 4. But that's not always going to be the case. And sometimes you can, just by thinking about their multiples, get something smaller than you would have. But let's turn these into 28s, and then they will have the same denominator. And that's another way I can compare them. So up here, they just happen to work out where I can make the same numerator. But I can also compare, of course, if they have the same denominator. So to make 2/7 into 28s, I'm going to multiply by 4 over 4. So 7 times 4 is 28, and 2 times 4 is 8. So 2/7 equals 8/28. And then to make 1/4 into 28, I'm going to multiply by 7 over 7. 4 times 7 is 28, 1 times 7 is 7. So now, instead of 2/7 and 1/4, I have 8/28 and 7/28. Obviously, which one is more? 8/28, because on this one, they are the same size part, both 28s. So if you had 8 of them, or if you had 7 of them, which one is more? The 8. So we have proved using 2 different ways that 2/7 is greater than 1/4. Now the second part of your question said, how much of the lawn still needs to be mowed? In order to know how much still needs to be mowed, I've got to know how much they have mowed. So I need to add 8/28 plus 7/28, and I'm going to get 15/28. So that's how much they have mowed. That's not what the question said. The question said how much is left to be mowed. How much is left to be mowed is, I got to start with my whole. And I'm dealing with 28s, so one whole would be 28 28ths. And then I got to take away what they have mowed, 15 28ths. So I'm just subtracting the numerators, because remember, you leave the denominators alone when they are the same. You don't subtract them. So 18 minus 15 is 13 28ths is what is left to be mowed. Now, when you get a fraction like this, instead of just leaving it and saying that's my answer, you should ask yourself, can I simplify it? Because we've talked about before that you want to, when you give an answer in fractions, you want to give the simplest form. So if we look at this though, we should know we cannot simplify this because 13 is a prime number. And so its only factors are 1 and 13. And 13 can't go into 28. So I cannot simplify that anymore. Alright, now I have no idea how much time you've got left. But if you have time left, it's not time for math to be over with. I want you to go do IXL L11. Okay? Go work on IXL L11. And hopefully I'll be back on Wednesday and see you then.